My girl.
We're back.
We're back. Everybody, I am sitting with my sister, my friend, Miss Tamara Payton, actress, entrepreneur, a beauty consultant. And I'm just so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Here on Conversations with Courtney podcast.
I'm so proud of you. I just want to say that first. When I saw that you had, started your process and doing the podcast, we had talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when we talk about things and then it's
They come to
executed.
fruition.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You start to do them. And so I just kudos to you because so many people, they talk about things and they never start. So congratulations.
Thank
I'm
you.
to be on here.
You know, I feel blessed because God really kickstarted me and really motivated me to start getting stuff done. Because I feel like fruitful conversations need to be heard. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people are thinking the same thing, experiencing the same thing, and we need to get those conversations out there to let people know that they're not alone.
Yes.
To let people know, like, here's some tips, some advice. And I think the most important thing to remember is that we can all glean from each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. If we would think about that and not gatekeep and share more, I think it always creates a place of growth within a community.
Yeah.
First. But then also in between friendships, relationships, and then business. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the sharing can create money and you know what I'm saying, and generational wealth just from sharing. So it is important to have conversations because you never know what a conversation can spark.
I know. And I've learned so much from you, from meeting you at Wish, and just even when you do the tips for beauty with tea, I learned from that. Like I pick up those things and I'm like, wow, which leads me into like our biggest topic today is natural beauty, embracing our natural beauty. And I feel like you do that very, very well. Like, tell me, what is it that really, because you're a beautiful woman.
Thank you.
But what really keeps you in that essence of not really always wearing a lot of makeup and weaves and things like that?
Sure. Well, let's just start from my beginning. Okay, so my grandmother, the wonderful great Bertie B. Payton. She is my 92-year-old grandmother who instilled in me beauty very young. She took me to get my first facial at 12.
Wow.
And introduced me to skincare at 12 because I was having trouble with my skin. I was having, you're in puberty and, there's just a lot going on in your body, and my skin was, the collateral. You know what I'm saying? It was everywhere. I was sad. And she was just like, oh no tears. And her and my mother, they got together. My mother, she wasn't really into all that, but she was like, her and my mother came together and they helped me. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the most beautiful thing, that my grandmother and my mother were the two people that were, they didn't just, they didn't ignore it. They didn't ignore that I was being bothered by my acne, and I got a wonderful facial. I started my skincare regimen. I would go to sleepovers and had, all my toners and everything was laid out, and all the girls were like, they had Noxzema.
Right, like, girl, we just use this one too.
They had Clearasil, and I had, Darphin and La Mer, and I had all this stuff laid out. And I had a beauty regimen that young. And so now it's really funny to see the little girls on TikTok. They're doing all these.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I think it's great because it's important for you as a young. To start young. I started wearing sunscreen at 12.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And so people were like, what is your secret? And I'm like, I really think that's part of it. When you've been doing something just because you've been told or taught to. I just did it because my grandmother told me to wear sunscreen. And so now, years and years later, my skin has benefited from it. I don't, the age spots.
You look so youthful. I'm like, what fountain are you drinking from?
Yeah. I mean, the fountain of the Lord first.
Glory.
But also really good at taking care of my skin. And I think that it started there. So that's how it started. It was always take care of your skin, good skincare first. good skincare first. And that's what I carry through my life to my business. And now it has paid off.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wear makeup, but the makeup that I do wear is mostly like a skincare, you know, it duels as skincare. So there's, you know, little light tints, but that's really where it comes from.
How much do you feel diet contributes to skincare? Because I think it contributes 100%. A lot. Yeah.
Diet, it plays into, if we're going to talk about skincare, we're going to talk about fitness too. If you can go to the gym every single day, and if your eating is not where it needs to be, you might as well not go to the gym. Same thing with skincare. If you're going to eat gross, it's going to come out. You know what I'm saying? So
I agree with that.
It's a big part of, you know, I can tell when I've been eating poorly.
Me too.
I can tell when I haven't been drinking my water. I can just tell.
It shows up on our face.
You look dry. It's a dryness that I can't really explain. Especially as a makeup artist, I can tell when a client is just dehydrated. Like the everything doesn't go into the skin. It's just like stuck. It's a big part of it. And I wish that more people would realize how much what you put in your body is important, and how it does make a difference. And I also feel like people don't really realize that you have to, you know, ask the different questions. You have to you know, you have to ask questions. When I'm talking about questions, meaning like your doctor, you have to know what's best for you. You can't go into to fads and things like that. You have to know what's best for your body. Because I know you're vegan.
You can really mess yourself up doing stuff like that. Like I put eyeshadow on my lips, and it's like, well, honey,
it doesn't go there.
It doesn't go there. And you know, I know people love TikTok, but you gotta be careful because
there's so much misinformation on TikTok.
Much.
There's so many people are saying to eat this and eat that and swap this and swap that. And it's just like, did you even read, or do you not really even know what like?
Don't do that.
And they're talking about like vegetables, like stuff from the earth. Like, don't eat it. I'm like, don't eat a vegetable. Like, don't eat a carrot. Really? Like,
now when you start saying stuff like that,
like, I did you do your research? It's really weird. But like, that's the thing though, is that people will just listen to anything. So it's knowing your body,
research and know your
for
body.
You. You know, for you, know what's good for you. That's the big thing. So.
How has it been for you? You know how like you're an actress, and I'm sure they like to do a lot of makeup and things like that. Have you been able to advocate for yourself when you don't want certain things? Because I know Megan Good has spoke out. I think it was on another podcast or in an interview, and she said like she's had to advocate for herself about not wanting to wear certain makeup because she's going to have to live with how she looks for the rest of her life on screen.
And oh my gosh, I've had my own makeup kit for this very reason since I started this career, and when I was in my like teens, because I got on set and the makeup artist did not have my shade.
Oof.
And my mother said, never again. We went to the MAC counter, and she bought me this expensive MAC box, and she put all my makeup. She said, never again. And from that time to now, I still carry my own makeup case a movie set. I was in LA. I took my makeup case with me. I got there, and thank God the person there, she took care of me. But it's not like that. I've been on sets, professional sets, like commercials, video sets, like, and the makeup artist was not prepared, was not trained to do my makeup, and I had to go in the bathroom and fix it because again, TV, it's forever. And if you look crazy, people are gonna say, they're gonna be like, why is her makeup that light, or why is it look people? And you know how critical people are. Even like nowadays, people are so critical. So it's so important. Yes. So
that happened to Nat King Cole. Like they wanted to put him in lighter makeup.
Oh my gosh, and it's the worst.
He actually did it, and you know, our people were mad because they were like, why would you lighten your skin? Because he was dark complected,
Yeah.
you know. And so it's important, especially if you're a makeup artist, to respect clients enough to have their shade, because we've gotten to a point where it's like, nah, you should have the correct shade.
You should have the correct shade. If you're calling yourself a professional makeup artist, you should have every shade there is, and if you don't, you should know how to create it.
Yeah.
You should know how to mix and do what you need to do in order to make it. Makeup is magical, and you can look like a totally different person. And I think that's also what I didn't want to happen. I didn't want to look like a totally different person when I take my face off. I want to actually look like myself when I do take my face off. And then also with the hair, you know what I'm saying? Like, my grandmother was a master beautician. I come from a line of beauticians and hairstylists. And I grew up in this salon, so healthy hair, and you know, and I went through it. You know, my hair broke off after, you know, relaxers and color and all this kind of stuff. So I think you do just kind of be like, you know what, it's enough. And when we went through, you know, getting out of the relaxers, you know, that was a thing. My grandmother told me not to get a relaxer, and I begged and begged and begged her, and she was like, all right. And I got it very late. You know, I don't think I was in high school when I got my first relaxer. And she was like, you don't need it. But I begged her. She put it in, and I'm like, why did I do that? Yeah. Why did I do that? It just didn't, it made no sense. So it took me years to grow it out. So now here we are. You know what I'm saying? So,
but your hair is beautiful. It's strong and healthy, and I love when you wear it in its like natural curly state. That's one thing that I have trouble with, is like rocking my natural curls, because I feel like I look extremely young, and like with the shrinkage, it's like,
that's a good thing. Well, shrinkage is a good thing, right? Especially with curly hair. Shrinkage means that it's moisturized. It means that it's bouncing back, and that's what curls are supposed to do. And we do have to get used to embracing, you know, ourselves, because that's who we're always going to have to come back to. You know what I'm saying? Everything else has to come out. The weaves and the braids, it all has to come out. We can't keep them in forever, and we are stuck with ourselves. So if we're not comfortable with how things grow out of our head and how things, you know, naturally fall, and that's when we are our most beautiful. Like I literally feel that. I feel like I look the best when I am just, you know, I have my hair in a bun and very little makeup. I feel the best that way. So, but it does take a process, because all the things, all the images that were showed daily on a daily basis, and then at the end of the day, you know, we really look the best. But then also, like, when you talk to men, they're like they like minimal. They're like, what's your favorite hairstyle? Messy bun. You're like, messy bun. Messy, like, for real, like messy bun is something I do when I'm like, but messy bun,
like I'm rushing.
But that's what you like. They're like messy bun on top of your head. I'm like, really? Hey,
they love the smallest things. They don't like a lot of makeup. Like a lot of my male friends, because I am single, they'll say like, Court, you don't need all of that makeup. Like,
they don't
you
like
don't
it.
need the makeup. Or one of my good friends, he'll say like, I love when you wear your hair out. And I'm like, really? Like, he's like, yeah, you look really beautiful with your hair just in its natural state. And I would say that does tend to help a woman get to a place of accepting her natural beauty if she's always been accustomed to wearing other things like weaves and makeup. When you hear that, not saying that makes a difference, but it helps. You know, it helps to hear like, you're beautiful. When you hear things, it's the power of words and a power of affirmations. When you hear things, it makes you feel good. So it makes you want to do that more.
I think it's also just like, you know, sometimes we don't see ourselves. And so sometimes when you're listening to people that you trust, and they can see things that you can't, you know what I mean? And sometimes people are mirrors to us. And so it's just their POV is important, because I have blind spots. You know what I'm saying? I have things that I can't see about myself. But if you're seeing something that I don't see, it does help. And it's helpful. And that's why it's important to have people in your corner that will tell you the truth. And that will tell you when you're outside of yourself. And what they're really saying is, Courtney, you are 100% enough, exactly how you are. And just remember and recognize that. And it might just seem like it's about your physical, but it's about the whole Courtney, the whole us. They're
because beauty
saying
radiates from
it radiates
in
from
to out.
everything.
I remember
Absolutely.
I was in middle school and I was going through a phase where I had attitude. I mean, my mom was like, "Listen, I don't know what
That
your
frontal
attitude
lobe
is."
wasn't
Like,
closed.
but I remember she said to me, "Courtney, you really are a sweet person. I don't know what is going on, but I really hope your attitude gets better." And so it made me stop and say, what is going on that I am exuding this ugliness, with my attitude? Because my mom also always said, you can be as beautiful as you want to be. But if you are not nice on the inside and you have an attitude and you treat people bad, you're just as ugly. And so, it's important that we remember our beauty starts from the inside. How is your heart posture? How do you think? How do you treat people?
Yeah, how you treat people is a big one.
That's a big one.
And I always try and treat people. And we have our days where we're not our best.
Right. Like you didn't catch me in my best moment.
On the best moment or the best day. And and I believe we will receive grace for that, especially if it's not something that's normal. But how we normally are known to treat people is important. And I think that's the biggest part about self-love is when you love yourself, it's going to come out and it's going to attach itself onto the people that are closest to you and that you come into contact with. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. And I always thought that I've loved myself. You know what I'm saying? I always felt like I this big personality that just loves herself. But I recently have realized, I look back on my life, and there were times where I wasn't showing up for myself. I wasn't advocating for myself. I wasn't and I was mean. And I was not in middle school. I knew better. I was grown, you know what I'm saying? And I wasn't being who I really was. But it wasn't anyone that was wrong. It was really battling what I was battling in myself.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And you know what? I think we've all been there at some points in our lives where it's like, that's not who you are. What are you going through? I can remember back in 2018, I was transitioning from one job to another, and I was trying to get back into the industry of TV, and it was so frustrating because it was not happening. And I just remember every time I went to a family event and somebody was like, so what's going on with TV? Don't ask me about TV.
Oh my gosh,
and I'm sure they probably like, oh, what is wrong with her?
Yeah.
But most of the time our issues are more in here, than what meets the surface.
Right. And I had that same. So my mother, because I'm an actor. I've been an actor for a while, but life, you kind of twist and turn around to different ventures. But then I knew that I would eventually come back to myself. But then one time my mother told me straight up, she was like, you need to go back to acting. You need to, and it was during the pandemic. I think that's really what was bringing it. Was just, we were all stuck inside. And I don't know, I can't remember the context of the conversation. But she's just like, you need to go back. You need to go back. Basically, she's like, you need to go back to yourself because you're driving us all nuts. So yeah. And so I did. It was 2020. And I remember I was watching Mike Todd on church because we were locked in. So I was watching Mike Todd and he said something. And it was like he was looking right dead in the camera, and it was like he was talking to me directly, and I felt it, and I was just like, okay. And that was that. Okay, I'm going back to acting. I'm going back to film. And then when you start that process, people were like, are you on TV? Or and I started the process. So of course I had to start from the bottom. I had to start doing background work, and because the industry had changed, and we were in the middle of COVID, so everything was self-tape, and I had to learn how to self-tape. I had to learn how to do all.
You had to rebuild.
I had to rebuild and relearn everything. And so when I started getting jobs, people were like, well, what's going on? And I'm just like, please don't ask me about anything.
Yeah,
Like,
just
don't
let me
ask
do
me. Just let
it.
me do it. Just let
Yeah.
me. Yeah, I know that you saw me that I'm on there, and they're like, are we gonna see you? I don't know if you're gonna see me because I'm doing background work right now. I'm trying to rebuild, to get to. They're like, are you talking? Are you gonna have a speaking role? And I'm like,
And that can be so frustrating
and
because you're like,
it's so frustrating and it's so like discouraging. They're not trying to be discouraging, but it can be because they don't realize how hard it is.
like, I'm in the lab. I'm just here for a lunch
I'm
break.
cooking. I'm cooking. Let me cook. Let me cook, please.
Yeah.
But they mean well, but
Yeah,
it really can bring an attitude because you're like,
Yeah.
please let me do what I need to do. So I feel you, try. And
Mhm.
then TV, we have chosen the hardest industry.
My goodness.
One of the hardest industries.
Yeah.
We have chosen it, or it has chosen us. Either way,
I think it's a little bit of both for me because
I
it's
think
like,
so too. I think so too.
When I was in 4th grade, I was on our school news, and I remember, "Good morning, Guyan Gators," and I would just come back to class just so happy, like, "Did you guys see me on TV?" And they're like, "Yes," and you're loud, and it's early in the morning. But I remember just falling in love with working in TV and just doing so many things with entertainment. Like, that was fun for me, and I just continued from 4th grade on, and I think I chose it and it chose me, and that's the way it's going to be, and so when people ask me about different things concerning my career, sometimes I just don't want to open up about it because I don't like to tell everybody everything. I just want to move so that now you see it, because what if something doesn't come through, just being realistic, not pessimistic, but realistic, that some things just change in TV. Like, they like your idea one minute and the next like,
they've tabled it.
Yeah, we're done.
And it's happened. I've had ideas, I've produced things, and they just didn't get a green light. And or I've shot scenes in movies, and I watched the movie and the whole scene is not there. So it's like,
and I'm sure that it probably is heartbreaking because you're like, I work hard, I memorized the scripts.
You did something, you were there, and you made the trip, you did all, and then the scene is just not there. So it happens, but that's a part of the process, and it's a part of of what you said that you wanted to do. And sometimes I just like, God,
sometimes there's ups and downs with that.
I mean, and I feel like more downs sometimes. I literally do, and I wonder like why I decided to choose to go back to the career. But then I think about the regret of not really giving it everything I really possibly have. And I know that I haven't done that yet. I know, I was telling my boyfriend the other day, I was just like, I know there is a part of me that hasn't been given the freedom to really just go for it 100%. And like, once I get there, you're not going to be able to stop me. Like, I'm going to be so like, but it takes time to get there.
I'm so proud of you because you are really a shaker and a mover. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I am so proud of you. You are blazing a trail that is all your own. I just love seeing you win. I miss doing Fashion Police with you.
But you know what? We have to do it anyway. We're not going to let anything stop us.
We're not going to let anything
from policing these people.
People need to know how they look on these red carpets.
And they need to know our opinion.
Yes.
So
I'm proud of you, though. And anything that I can do to always help you, please let me know, because I'll do it. And, I am rooting for you from top to bottom, from Indy to LA to Atlanta, and everywhere you are. I'm always rooting for you.
Receive it.
I love you. Tamara also has a podcast where she talks about beauty, all the fashion, all the things that you need to know. Please, please, please make sure you go follow, like, and subscribe to her channel as well. I'll put all the links that you need below.
Ooh, you're holding me to it because I've only done like two
episodes. So it's still a podcast. People still need to know.
I'm gonna get on that. I'm right on top of that, Rose. Y'all too young to know what that is. You're probably too young. I'm showing my age.
You guys, until next time, you are tuning into Conversations with Courtney.
Hey.
Thanks for
CC.
watching.